Hello from me, Lazarus. We continue with the next lesson of the course by HTML. We are currently on chapter 16. Forms in HTML. We open the PDF file. The forms are used as a means of receiving and exchange of information between site visitors and its author, or the company that uses it, and presents its products to him. Through the forms can be made site registrations, comments, opinions in forums, to shop online, and more. Here is an example of a web form. Usually, any web form consists of several data fields and a button for sending them. As there may be and such a button to clear the fields as in the example. The working mechanism of the web format is as follows: the site visitor fills in the data in the fields and clicks the Submit button. By doing a check for correctness of this data, as it can be done in two ways. Even during the filling of each field and then and on the server where the data goes upon pressing the Submit button. After correcting the input data, the process continues. The browser sends the data to the server receives them, processes them, as this processing takes place through programming languages such as PHP, Perl, and others, and returns the response to the browser in the form of a new HTML page. That's all it's used for. CGI technology. Common gateway interface, and the browser gets that page and shows it. HTML elements for working with web forms. In HTML 4.01 and HTML5 forms again there is a significant difference. In HTML5 they worked hard this time and have put a lot of effort into this topic. Many new attributes have been added, elements and functionalities. We will focus only on the most important of them, and with forms there is one key element, which he put as a container and in all the others are placed on him. This is the form element. The form element is used to creating a new web form, but unlike frames, shapes don't have to be inserted into each other. The form element can contain the following items: input. This is the most important element, by which a field is created. It can be of a different type in which data is entered. Text area, creates a multi-line text field. Button, creates a clickable button. Select, creates a drop-down list. Option, is placed in the select element and is used to set the elements of the drop-down list. Opt group, inserted into the select element and groups related items from the drop-down list. Field set, groups related form elements. Label, sets a label for the tag input, button, etc. The form element also has its own attributes, but before we look at them, we'll show the code in the example from the previous page, without part of the attributes and values. We see that the creation of almost all fields the input tag is used, except the text box. And look, now we will show what it is the role of layout in HTML. If we open the document like this, without layout, in the browser we will see the following. This example shows how much it is the layout is important. You see what a huge difference there is between this type and the previous one. The more important attributes of the form element are: action, which specifies the URL, the path to the file where the program is located. Data processing. In previous versions this attribute was required, now it is not. Method, specifies the method by which the data will be transmitted, get or post. Get is used by default. and here the difference is described between these methods. I will not dwell on it now. Name sets a name for the form. Target sets where, in which browser window, to show the result, in the same or in another. There are also two new attributes introduced in HTML5, but we will not dwell on them. The input element, as we said, it is the most important and basic element for working with forms. Many new ones have been added for its attributes and capabilities in HTML5, and for its full study a detailed book is written. That's why there isn't let's dwell on it in detail here. For more detailed information you can visit this site. The input element is of the so-called empty elements, no closing tag. It is only used with attributes and serves to create new fields of a different type. Its main attributes are the following: type, specifies the type of element, can take different values. Text, which is the value by default. Here is the code and an example. What does such a field look like? And most of the values of type, text, checkbox, radio, etc. they can to be used together with some of the other attributes of the input tag, for example name, value, so the examples will be given together. Checkbox is a multiple choice field. Here's an example of what it looks like. Radio also gives a choice, but unlike checkbox, here only one option can be selected. Sets the so-called checkmark radio button. Here is sample code, how it looks in your browser. File enables to select a file from your computer to send via the web form. Hidden sets a hidden field, which serves web developers for certain purposes. Reset sets a button to reset the values in all fields, which is rarely used lately. Submit, this is the submit button of the data to the server. So here's the general example with reset and submit. Here is the code in it. Image sets an image that will be used instead of the submit button. Button sets a clickable button, usually used to enable JavaScript. Password is a password field which is like text, but asterisks are visible, that is, the symbols are not visible. Here's an example where it will set a maximum length limit of characters 15. Here is the code and here is what it will look like. Let's put it all together, which we have shown so far in a multivariate example, and here's what we'll see like this in the browser. In HTML5 to the type attribute of the input tag have been added many more values, but not all of them are supported by all browsers. Here are some of them: URL, email, number, search, range. Here's what they're used for. Here's an example of those 5 values. Here is the code, and the result in the browser will be. We continue with the rest attributes of the input tag. Actually, some of them we have already considered them at the different values of the type attribute. So far we have covered the following values. There are more, now we will not dwell on them again. This tutorial is very technical anyway, and therefore we will not consider them in detail here and now. You can read it in the PDF file, in detail and in detail. Now we will mention only briefly some of the other attributes. Autocomplete remembers the entered attributes and then shows them as a tooltip. Autofocus determines where the focus should be. Disabled indicates that the element is disabled. Placeholder, this is an interesting possibility, display text in field, which serves as a hint and describes the expected value in the field, thus saving can be done the labels in the form, as I have done on my site. Here for example in my form, this is a placeholder, name, email, message, subject. And the asterisk at the beginning of the field indicates that the required attribute is included, which indicates that the input field to which it refers is mandatory and must be completed before sending the page. Size specifies the visible width of the field. Here is an example with these attributes. The code is as follows. Here's what the next item looks like. Text area serves to create multiline text field, is used mainly for comments and messages. Its main attributes are name, rows, specifies its height in number of rows calls, specifies its width in number of characters, columns, autofocus, disabled, read only, max length, specifies the maximum number of characters. Placeholder, we've already covered that. Wrap, specifies exactly how to move the lines. Here is an example, and here's what we'll see in the browser. Select, option and opt group elements. These elements are used together, therefore we will consider them in general point from this chapter. Some of their attributes are the same like the ones we've looked at so far, therefore we will only look at the more specific ones. The select element is used to create the drop-down list is used along with the option element that puts in select and serves to set the items from this list. And his own attributes are these, but we will not consider them now. The option element sets the elements of the drop-down list and except in select can to be inserted in both opt group and data list. It can contain the following attributes. Besides these, it can also contain the value attribute. Here is an example with these elements. Here's what we'll see in the browser. The opt group element is used for grouping of the related drop-down list items. Used when there are many elements in the drop-down list and may contain the disabled and label attributes. In this case, the title of the group is placed in label. Here's an example of it, and here's what you see. The field set and legend elements are used together, and therefore them too we will consider them in a general point. The field set element is used to group the logically related elements of the form and may contain the following attributes. The legend element is used to set a title to the group by field set elements. Here's an example with them, and here's how it will look, and the last one we're going to look at is the label element. Jesus tag for the elements button, input, select and others. Of course, a label can be also created with plain text to put there, but in this case the difference is that when we click on the text of a given element, as if we had clicked on element itself, control is switched. The label element can contain the for and form attributes. Both serve to indicate which element will refer to the label, but form is for the form, and for is for all other elements. There are two ways to connect them together. The value of the attribute used of the label tag must be the same with the ID attribute value of the element, something like that. The form element must be nested in the label element as follows. That's all for this tutorial. Best regards.